Hi everyone. I wanted to take a few minutes to show you how to configure a common use case within my own customer base, which is DNS load balancing with transparent caching. This specific use case became relevant to my customers when they started to experience issues with domain controllers no longer responding to DNS queries and having to force a reboot. With DNS load balancing, we would simply be doing active monitoring to ensure that a specific pool member is actually responding to DNS queries. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So we're going to start by simply creating our cache first. And just name it demo cache. And you'll notice our resolver types. We have three different types of DNS caches. We're going to select transparent and go ahead and click finished. And now we're going to go ahead and go up to delivery. We're going to go to, we'll go ahead and start with load balancing. And we're going to go ahead and create a monitor first and click create. And we're going to go ahead and select DNS from the dropdown. And we're just going to do a simple query name like msn.com or anything within your environment that you expect to resolve. Go ahead and click finished. Next, we're going to go back to load balancing, pools, pool list. So we're going to go ahead and select the monitor that we created. Load balancing. Now at this point, I only have a single domain controller, but in your case, you might want to do least connection member, something along those lines. But let's go ahead and define the IP address of our domain controller in my environment. And server's port of 53. And finished. Next, we're going to go ahead and create a DNS profile. We're going to use the parent profile DNS. We are going to go ahead and enable the ability to select a DNS cache. And we're going to go ahead and disable bind. But we are going to go ahead and enable logging and AVR statistics, which we did not go over in this video. Next, we're going to go ahead and create our listeners. Now, something that I just realized when creating this in the past couple days was when creating a listener within the DNS module, when you're actually proxying, it's not going to actually configure address translation automatically as if you were doing it through a virtual server configuration. So we're going to go ahead and select address translation and port translation, as well as source address translation. We're going to configure auto map. For our DNS profile, we're going to go ahead and select the DNS profile that we created previously, default pool, our pool of DCs. And we're going to go ahead and click finished. So let's go ahead and go back and let's see what that actually created here. So you'll notice we have a virtual server now, which is again is our listener. We show that it's available, so we know the MSN query is successful. So now let's go to our server. We're actually going to do a NS lookup. We're going to define the server that we created as the listener. And now we're going to do a lookup of anything. All right, and all right. So we've done a few queries. We know it's successful. Let's just go back to the big IP and let's take a look at see if anything's come through yet. So you notice here, not too long ago, we started to actually do DNS listeners. We started to actually perform some lookups, and you'll notice msn.com, and we know analytics take a few minutes to populate, but this kind of gives you an idea of, again, how to configure load balancing as well as caching. And let's go ahead and take a look at that as well before we quit this video. So let's look at our cache list. So you'll notice that there were 40 queries and 16 responses. 16 responses were answered locally without having to go to the DC. Now we have a very small amount of queries so far, but you can imagine if the number of DNS queries gets into the hundreds of thousands or millions, if we can increase that hit rate on our cache at a high level, then you'll certainly notice an improvement in client performance, client experience. Anyway, I hope this video was helpful to someone out there, and until next time.